Are advanced reader copies of books allowed to be resold by the person who is reading them? Today, we're talking to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer to find out what goes on behind the scenes when a reader takes an ARC or an advanced reader copy and sells it to the highest bidder. Let's jump in.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called the IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, we've been having some situations in the publishing industry recently where readers are getting advanced reader copies or ARCs of books, and they're turning around and selling these copies for huge amounts of profits. We know this is not something that is good, helpful, useful, or even potentially legal. So let's take a look at this from the legal perspective. Can people sell advanced copies of books, and what happens if they do?
The answer is going to be a loud, resounding no, just flat out. I feel like that the manager in the office, no. So, so actually, sorry, office space, not the office. There's so many offices. Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, advanced reader copies, the whole premise of them is authors want to get a blurb from, the reader just to get an honest review of what the book is like, because that's what essentially will help that blurb could help the author generate a sale or sales of their book, for to post on Amazon or whatever platform they're going to be selling the book. Now the problem with selling advanced reader copies is if you open the book and you see usually the front page, it would say very clearly it's not available for sale. So the bottom line is that the reason why there's a disclaimer there is when a book is officially published in the broad space for the mainstream public, the general public, that's usually the trigger that a publisher usually begins the clock of getting, generating royalty payments for that author for every sale of a book or maybe units of a book. And I know we've talked about publisher agreements before on videos with KM. So if you missed those, definitely check them out. But definitely when you sign a publisher agreement, there are provisions about not only just the advance payments for delivering the first draft, or not even that, the first payment for just signing the agreement, and then payments for any first draft of of a book or second draft. Those payments happen, but then the most important the most important part of the consideration part of the contract is the royalty phase. So what royalty are you going to be paid for every sale of a book in a bookstore, on an online storefront, internationally even? Those are all going to be laid out in pretty clear-cut fashion. So when you sell an advanced reader copy book for $50, $70, $100, maybe even upwards of $250, which I was shocked to see anyway. But if you sell a book for that much, ask yourself, is the author getting any type of royalty payment? Because the answer is going to be no. There's no payment, no royalty that the author is going to get out of that. It's just not going to happen. So that triggers a big concern. And then obviously, not even a legal issue, but it's just more of an ethical matter here. It is an unethical practice. Not even immoral, but it's just wrong to just think that you're being, some type of hero making a profit from something that you got for free like that. So I think if you're even contemplating selling an ARC, think twice, because you may not realize that what you're doing is just, flat out incorrect. And, not to say that, you're going to be like, brought to court, but it's just, it's just a problem. And actually this, may even turn into a little bit of a segue, for you, the author, if you're the one providing our advanced reader copies, ARCs, the question becomes, how can you enforce your rights if, let's say, somebody did sell your ARC? So maybe you get them to sign an NDA where they agree to not sell that book in any way, shape, or form. And if they breach that, then you can enforce the NDA and pursue some type of action against them. Maybe that kind of thing could work. Maybe even working with the publisher to see what has been historically done to prevent recipients of ARCs from selling the books if they have a history with it. I think looking through whatever options you have legally to enforce your rights and prevent this type of practice from happening could even be another way to mitigate and prevent ARCs from being sold on secondary, even tertiary markets.
So it's incredibly important to make sure that we are very clear when we are having conversations with potential ARC readers on what those expectations are. So as authors and as publishers, we know that we can be putting disclaimers inside of the books. We know that we can be using the terms and service on our websites. We know that we can be doing NDAs and contracts with people. Are there other things we need to consider to make sure that we are protecting our books?
I think it's just, yeah, I think those are pretty much like the most important gatekeeping methods, I guess if you want to call it that. Those are the most important ways to prevent a recipient of an ARC from selling it. I would even say one other idea that I have is, maybe part of a contract that you have with the recipient of the ARC is that they return that copy to you, so that way it prevents them from then going and flipping it on a market like Mercari or eBay or any other place where books are sold as like secondhand books. So I think maybe that could be something that could be considered by an author. I think working with a publishing lawyer to verify other methods, I think could also be another steady tactic that could surefire work here. Only because at the end of the day, they may have more war stories to share for authors, and they could put them in a position of success to prevent ARCs from being sold on, again, on a secondary or tertiary market that deprives them of a royalty, that deprives them of, some type of payment at the end of the day.
And so it's incredibly important, if you, the reader, are getting your hands on a copy of a book early, that you are participating under the terms laid out to you when you get your hands on that copy. You are not to resell it. You are not to do certain things with it. You're not to disclose that information until the book is published. And if you are agreeing to review it, you are agreeing to take those actions and actually review those books. If you've got further questions on any of this, go ahead and drop it down below. And if you need help learning how to review a book properly, we have tons of tutorials, resources, and a book review journal for you. We'll link all those down below to make it incredibly easy so that you can continue to get those books in order to review them early and rise in the ranks of the publishing industry. We want to make sure we answer any questions, so drop those down below. And if you have questions on the legal side of this for Tony, you can reach out to him on his social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor.
Hit that subscribe and notification bell, because we have daily episodes dropping to help you level up in the writing and the reading world to make sure that you are making a more profitable online presence for yourself and getting your hands on the exact right books for you. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you have other legal questions or questions about growing in the publishing or the reading industries, drop those down below too for our upcoming episodes. We'll see you in the next one.